Hi students, now let's focus on the task 3 of the mock number 1. And again students, these tasks are generally a little bit complicated compared with the exam standard. So don't worry about that. Now if you observe in this question, as I already instructed you, always when you go to the examination, understand the format and to whom you are doing. So I'll write it down in my answer plan. Always have an answer plan, students. It will really improve your engagement with the question paper because the more you engage, the more you think properly to the situation with the exhibit. Now, students, the format in this case is report and it's to the board of directors. Later, when we are doing the answer, we will come to that, but just keep that in mind. Format to the board of directors. Format to whom, students? The board of directors. Just keep that in mind for your perspective. Now, in this case, students, they are effectively stating evaluate the use of big data management for Nctech. Okay, so evaluation. Again, students, a detailed discussion using the exhibit. So when you see this term evaluate, whatever said and done, you have to go with the exhibit data. Not copy paste it, students. You have to be a data scientist and you have to use the data and come up with a futuristic conclusion. Now the total marks is 10 marks and the second one is, I'll just write it down here, students. So evaluate the use of big data, for management of Nctech. So students, how can they utilize the big data? That is one factor to be considered. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, discuss the ethical issues faced in using the data for commercial purpose. So the other one is the verb is discuss ethical issues. Now students, in case studies, specifically on SBL, be very careful with the ethical issues for using data for commercial purpose, Now students, here little bit of high level thinking is needed, but again it is possible from your end. Don't worry about that. And the other verb is assess. Students, in the answer plan, just show the examiner that you are critical with the verbs. Although you are using the state apply conclusion technique, still it will be better for the examiner and it gives him the confidence that this student is effectively having some idea of how to think. Assess the risk of using big data for Nctech. So students, assessment is futuristic assessments. So these are the three main focus points that a student needs to keep in mind. Now students, just to make your thinking more practical, more clearer, the commercial acumen is the skill here, which is effectively 4 marks they are giving. Now, what I have to effectively do is, I told you, whatever the skill comes in, your brain needs to be skeptical. You have to think very skeptical to the situation. Exhibit number 4, big data management. The marketing department has suggested, since IaaS, that means the infrastructure as a service, has become a business where only SME are using storage cloud at present, there are many data in the data center which has been accumulated in the past 10 years. That means they already have some data which is stored in their portal for the 10 years. The marketing department has stated, as per the contract with the customers we have already mentioned in the clause, that data can be used by Nctech for commercial purpose, safeguarding sensitive personal information like bank account detail, card detail, also CVV number. That means high level financial sensitive data is preserved and it cannot be shared. Other than that, company can use the data. So this is the legal arrangement, students. So I'll write down here legal arrangement. Understand this verb properly, students. It is legal arrangement. Just keep that in mind. Very, very important. One of the criticism that was made by the marketing department was that they are having an issue since there is no additional revenue generated by the company, since only revenue of the company dependent is the pay-as-you-go service. Now, it's more like a self-interest threat, students, because they are very much personally interested on increasing their bonus only. Further, this is not a good sign for revenue growth considering the disruption taking place. But if this is a better organization or better solution, they would have given some ideas where the organization can go to platform as a service or they can go to software as a service, but they're not giving that. Instead of giving these, they're telling that we can use the current resources and gain benefits from the data. The marketing director has also suggested that we can sell the data to companies who wants to build business where we can charge a fee as well. But the finance director has opposed, stating that it is not good practice to such things although we have legal contract, and there is an ethical factor to be considered in that perspective as well. Also, there can be risk arising in the future. The management has asked you, how can the data be used for futuristic purpose? Now, here they are saying they are going to sell the data to companies. Now, students, now this is a vague thing. It can be lobbying agents also, because they can take the data and they can create some political issues also. So you can think in a different perspective, multidimensional perspective. But when you go to the examination, when you get this exhibit clear, again reflect the exhibit with the task. Now, the use of big data for the management of Nctech. So, students, just to give you an idea. Now, it's a 10 marks question. Now, in this case, what they can do other than selling it. Now, if you observe, 100% of the students will write, they will write, we can use this and get money, revenue. That will be the majority. But in this case, you have to be skeptical and think little bit better than the exhibit. Now, one thing, students, if I'm not mistaken, SME category can be analyzed. Now, students, if you just see, they are effectively mentioned in the pre-seen material. We are catering for SME, but students, SME can be many things. It can be a retail store, it can be a beauty parlor, it can be an accounting firm, it can be a medical firm like a small clinic. So many things are there, but in this case, SME category can be analyzed and we can observe which category needs more of the cloud data, more of the cloud computing. So I believe this gives you a better clarity at the moment, students. Can I get that confirmation here? Because you can understand that. And then, students, services to be enhanced, and to be reduced. Now, students, we can effectively go with that. Because students, we can understand what they prefer, how they do it. So that is important. And then, students, if I'm not mistaken, service usage, because students, we can effectively make sure a little bit changes to our platform. As pay as you go, we can effectively understand they are not using much. So we can effectively go with subscription model in this case if they are moving forward. And then, students, regional usage. In simple language, students, I can effectively say regional usage. So can I write down here regional usage? Can you remember, students, internet stability? All those factors were mentioned, no, students, because internet stability is one factor to be considered in this case. And the other thing, students, if I'm not mistaken, another thing is customer turnout. We can effectively understand the customer turnout and rationale behind that, because are they wanting better service like platform as a service or a software as a service? What is the rationale behind their turnover? So these are the uses that we can effectively understand from the big data management systems what we have at the moment using the customer data. These are ethical factors. These are ethical factors which we are covering up. But again, don't worry. Examiner is always focusing on how you think. And the best thing that you can do is avoid copy pasting the exhibit again and again and thinking you are scoring marks. Discuss the ethical issues using the data for commercial purpose. Students, I just want to give you this understanding properly. Now, when there is an ethical issue, students effectively go with the ACCA code of ethics. Actually, that is not the right way in the P level exam. Initially, you have to understand the market practice, because students, ethics is whatever the market accepts. Now, students, if you come to Mumbai, you will be able to see child labor. Now, in that case, child labor has been accepted by the market. In that case, you can't say anything wrong there. Now, if you come to Kerala, students, people are eating beef. market has practice. Eating beef is nothing normal for them. So in that case, the first thing you have to understand is the market practice. Is it accepted by the market? Is the market fine with using their data? That is one factor to be considered. And then students, the next thing that we have to understand is based on that, now we have to consider other factors, specifically like professional due care, because students, ethical or non-ethical, there is something called due care factors, because it is clearly mentioned, no students, like the financial data, example, like the card details, the payment details, the customer identity, all those things are very sensitive information which should not be revealed over time. Just keep that in mind. And then students, just to give you even more clearer picture, I can also say students, if there is no issues till date, if there is no issues till date in the market, we can proceed, but only one thing students, only one thing, anticipate means anything can happen in the future, correct, no students, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll write down here, anticipate the future legal regulations, because we have to be very much careful with the future legal regulations for your understanding. Now students, the next thing is assess the risk of using big data. So students, what are the assess of the big risk of using big data is data leak. Students, there are chances the data can be leaked due to phishing. That means an unauthorized access coming to your organization. Okay. And then students, if you observe, another one is litigation. Now, if you see, litigation will be another factor. And the other one is students, fines and suspensions of license. This can be another factor. And the final thing students, customer reliability on Nctech, because customer reliability on Nctech is important, because if customers lose the reliability on Nctech, I think the international players will be taking over the business perspective. So students, when you go to the examination, engage with the exhibit. Again, I am giving you the examination tips, students. Engagement is important. Don't recall the knowledge. I'll use the term here, engage with the exhibit. Engage with the exhibit. And students, based on the cogent information and based on the past exam reports, it's clearly mentioned that question pointing from the pre-scene is a very bad strategy a student can possess. The rationale is you get charities in certain businesses. You get not-for-profit business considerations. In that case, we don't know. So your mind needs to be very fresh in the exam day, where you will be able to provide your point of view as much as possible. So students, let's start working on this. So I'll write down here. So just I'm going to develop my answer plan into my answer. So answer plan is done. So I'll just keep that as usual, so that it will be very easy for you all for understanding. So what I will do, I'll just copy this again. And students, what I have to do is I'll just write down here answer once again, the main answer, and I'll just paste it down. And the only thing now I have to do is I have to make sure that I design this answer more relevant to the case. That's it. That's it, students. It's not difficult. It's not difficult like SBR. It's not difficult like audit and assurance. It's not difficult like AFM or APM. It's very practical. The pre-scene is there. You are a decision maker from the management consultant. So I'll write down here the management consultant. So I believe that everyone is getting it. And then students, I'll write down here the subject. The subject is very practical, if I'm not mistaken. Big data analysis for whom, students? For Nctech. That is one factor. And the date, students, I can effectively mention, like for me, it's 27th of November. Please write down the month like this, students. It will be very decent and professional as well. And then students, a quick introduction using the verbs given in the case study, because that is something that examiner prefers. But as per the read the mind of the marker, the examiner is not giving much marks for this. So introduction. This report intends to provide an evaluation, an evaluation of big data, big data, big data use for NC Tech, comma, also discusses the ethical challenges associated with this proposal, and the risk assessment in case of using big data, so students, I believe everyone has got this clearly. So I'll just highlight the evaluation, I'll just highlight the discuss, and highlight the assessment verbs, because students, if possible in the exam, make sure you highlight some points. It will add value to the answer. In case if you can't highlight, bold and underline it, it will make the examiner understand it. So evaluate the use of big data management for Nctech. So students, what I will do, I am going to make sure this point is developed. First, we develop a point and then we describe the point. The point is enlarged, or the stretching of the point. So at present, we have a broad understanding that the customers, or I can use the term the clients we are focusing on, are the SME, that is the small medium entities, but the challenge associated is that we are not aware what industry are they from, and we are providing a general service. We are providing a general service to all clients. This weakness can be overcome. Using big data analysis. What students? Analysis. This issues can be overcome using big data analysis. Just keep that in mind for your understanding. For instance, we can understand the needs of each businesses, and provide them with better utilization of data. For instance, if it is a retail store, we can provide data with the fast selling goods and slow selling goods, fast selling goods and slow selling goods. Now this answer looks very long, but my suggestion is this is just for a learning purpose. I'm not repeating the pre-seen material. That is the objective here, students. And service to be enhanced and to be reduced. Since the current approach is where we are providing services in common. We don't understand what each segment of customers needs. Therefore in that case, we have to make sure that we are able to have a better understanding of the customer value development services. For instance, if they prefer platform as a service, better. We prepare for that. We prepare for that. We prepare for that. We prepare for that. And reduce activities like providing servers since there are better technologies in the market, better technologies in the market, better technologies in the market. So students, understand it properly, students. It will give you an application of thinking, which is very important. And then students, if you observe the service usage, if you understand it very clearly, at the moment, since common service is provided, startup businesses may have a challenge. Startup business may have challenges since they may have to get lower service, since the operations are less, since the operations are less at the moment. I believe that is very clear at the moment. Further, there is some factors to be considered, for instance, I'll just make sure it is very clear for you all. For instance, if we can provide some other payment options instead of pay as you go, payment options instead of pay as you go, like monthly subscription at affordable rates. At what, students? Affordable rates. At affordable rates, it may be better for the mass small scale business. Correct, no, students, if I'm not mistaken. So keep that in mind. And then, students, the regional usage, that is one more factor. Now, students, customer complaints may rise due to service availability. For instance, internet plays a critical role. Internet plays a critical role. Critical role where the company will be able to have challenges on regional areas. Therefore, it will be better to pre-communicate in advance with regards to the business active with regards to the internet stability to avoid complaints. That is one very good factors. And also to partner with internet service providers also can be considered as well. Now, the next thing, students, if I'm not mistaken, is the customer turnout. If I'm not mistaken, in the customer turnout, students, I can say, since there are new technologies like SaaS, that is software as a service, there is a high level of customer turnout. In that case, the company needs to make sure they have a better understanding of the market trend using the big data, using the big data. I believe this is very, 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 very clear for you all at the moment, and there is nothing to worry. Now, the next thing, students, just to make your life even clearer and easier, what I can effectively consider in this point of view is the part B requirement, the ethical challenges. Now, students, when you go to the ethical challenges, the biggest mistake students write is a template-oriented answers. And I'm requesting the students who are doing the examination, please be mindful because your presence of mind is very important. Are you writing something? It was taught by your tutors or this video. Don't take it into the exam. You need to be mindful. Presence of mind is important. Whatever we teach will be a role model answer only. It is not the main answer, so be very careful. The market practice in Falun. The market practice in Falun. The market practice in Falun is a critical factor. Is a critical factor to be considered. Critical factor to be considered. To be considered. Students understand it very well. The market factor in Falun is a critical factor to be considered. So that will be a good point of view. So I'll write down here, therefore, in that case, we have to make sure, that we understand whether the market is aware of these practices, and also the competitors in the industry are practicing this. So students, I believe this is very, 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 very clear at the moment. Therefore, in that case, we have to make sure that we have an idea before we implement. If the market has accepted commercial acumen, students, if the market has accepted, we have to make sure that we are able to provide the same service. We are able to provide the same service. I believe this is very, very clear for you all at the moment. Nothing to worry. Please make sure that you are having that mental stability in the examination to think appropriately to the situation in order to apply to the right point of view at any time. So that is one factor that I have to be very, very specific to the students at the moment. And then students, I'll just come to the next one, professional due care, because whenever there's ethical issue, we have to understand. If the market is fine in this practice of sale of data, still we have to understand, we do have some due care with regards to personal informations like home address, identity of the individual, since these are essential, individual, since these are essential, these are what, students? Essential. These are essential. Therefore, Nctech needs to ensure they don't exceed the limit. They don't exceed the limits, because that is one highlighted factor that we have to keep in mind. And finally, students, if you observe here, if there is no issue till in the market, can we proceed? Yeah, we can accept this proposal. Since legally we have ensured that the details of customers can be sold, and also we can provide a reminder as well. Therefore we may not have any issues, in the future as well with regards to any legal litigation, that means court cases. And then students anticipate the future legal regulations. Now in this case, anticipate the future legal regulations. In general, the future legal regulations are important. The future legal regulations are important, since anytime there can be a new law releasing. So we have to be mindful, mindful of the business challenges as well. And students, the next thing, just to keep your mind updated, is the assessment of the risk. Now I'll just write down here data leak and phishing. Data leak can happen due to poor firewall and protection. And in case of phishing as well. Therefore in that point of view therefore in that point of view there will be a bigger challenge. As well for the company. So students, that is one factor to be considered. Also, this will have serious issues like litigations. Now I'm going to write down litigations next. So already the heading is there, so I'll write down here: legal issues will be a major factor, since there are tendencies. The information can be disclosed. In the press, where the reputation may fall. As well. And also, in case the issue is high impact, we may end up paying fines. And also suspensions. And also what, students? Suspensions as well. So keep that in mind, students. That is one more factor. So I'll write down here the fines and suspension they have given. I'll just elaborate this point more in detail. The fines and suspensions will have a direct impact to the organization. Therefore, in that case, the company needs to be careful, and protect the business using insurance, and internet securities, as well. So that is very, very, very practical and important as well. And then students, customer reliability on Nctech. In case of a data breach, the reliability of Nctech service may fall down and affect the customer reputation. So understand it very well. And I'll write down here conclusion, students, just to end the answer. In the conclusion section, what I can effectively say is, Therefore, the big data analytics is a good proposal. It's a good proposal, but there are challenges associated. It's a good proposal. There are challenges associated. There are challenges associated. Challenges associated. In that case, the company needs to ensure there is a proper understanding of the external market and the legal system. Understanding of the external market and legal systems, and also professional due care with customer data. Professional due care with customer data to customer data. So students, this is the answer. And again, students, these are not perfect answers. These are just an answer how the student needs to manage time. Because you see here my sentence became very less. The reason is I'm managing my time. So understand it very well. This is how the answer needs to be structured in the examination. So thank you very much, students.